what are the two missions that we're looking at?
All right. So we can go in numerical order, and I've actually got them in front of us. And there's 16 actual missions. Number 15 comes in the Ghost, and it's called Sabotage. And it's actually pretty thematic, and it fits in with the whole Star Wars Rebels kind of plot.
Which, if you haven't started watching, it's well worth your time.
If you think, well, I watched one and it seems too kid oriented, you got to get through at least the first 4, because I admit it starts off a little rough. But you know what? What show doesn't? If you love the Clone Wars, go back and watch the first couple episodes. You know, they really weren't that good, and it gets better quickly. But overall. So this mission is basically the Ghost is been off on a mission, and one of their numbers, Sabine, who's their bomb expert, needs to be picked up from this asteroid belt. She's been out planting explosives, and so you get your 6 asteroids that you take turns spreading out, and then there's these 6 tokens. One of them is Sabine. The other ones are these little thermal exploders. You flip them upside down, shuffle them around, and you put them on the asteroids. And the rebels they have a list in the mission that says, here's these lists. It was, pre-built ships, or you can get so many points to build your own.
Right, 79 points, I think.
Right. Or then the Imperials start off with the Inquisitor and 4 Obsidian Squadron pilots, or you can get 79 points to go through it. And the idea is, at the beginning of the second turn, you flip over all the tokens, and that's where you know which ones are bombs and which ones are Sabine. And by the end of turn 5, the shuttle from the Ghost has to land on that asteroid without any damage to pick up Sabine by the end of turn 5, or the mission's over, the Imperials have closed in, and Sabine's captured, and that's the end of the game.
Right, and when you pick up Sabine like that, immediately after you do that, all of the asteroids that have explosives on them explode, and anything caught in that gets essentially a thermal detonator type of damage.
Which is 1 damage and 1 stress.
Exactly.
And the asteroid blows up and is no longer there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. Played that wrong. Well, anyway.
But yeah, that's the basic mission, and I know Jim and I tried it. I guess both of us playing Imperials, both of us playing the Rebels, and back and forth, and then we tried the same thing with rebuilding lists just to see what we could do to it, what was good, what was bad about the whole thing. Right. I know I certainly have plenty of opinions on it. I don't know if anybody else does. I don't want to take all the time.
Jake and I also played this. We played once where I flew the Ghost with a reconfigured squad, so I built the squad myself.
Mm-hmm. And I played just the standard, Inquisitor with the generic pilots after that.
Right. So, do you guys want to talk about your games first? Let's just have a quick summary of all the games. How did your games go?
I'll take it, at least the first portion of it. Jim and I both, when we did the first flip through with just the stock lists, we both had the unfortunate luck of having Sabine basically be in the Imperial's edge, or right at the Imperial edge of the asteroid
field. The farthest
field.
it could be.
Yeah, as far as possible. And I guess, and I think we're in agreement in this, if that's where they end up, it's going to be a really tough slog for the Rebel group, because they basically have a giant meat shield with no real agility that has to run this gauntlet of ships. And
particularly
the Imperials know what they're
block.
Yeah, if they try and block you with all these little low pilots, then it's going to be tough to get there in 5 turns with anything left on that Ghost to actually, survive after that, after actually picking them up. But that's how our first couple games went, was we just had the bad luck of it being there. And I think that positioning, in my opinion, is a little bit of a bad part about the mission, is if it happens to be right on the Republic edge, then you can pick them up really quick. And those asteroids blowing up is actually very, very huge. It doesn't sound like much, but I know one of the games we played, it destroyed me, like as an Imperial. I mean, I lost like 3 ships, and it just was perfectly timed that it took half of my force out. So I think that positioning of Sabine, although it's random, is kind of case in point to how the mission tends to go for the rebels.
Right.
Because we had the asteroids close together in kind of a big cluster,
Mm-hmm.
and so when they went off, there were multiple ships being hit multiple times.
So when I read the rules, it seemed to me like when you have ships in range of multiple asteroids, you get a maximum of 1 damage. I'm going to pull up the rules real fast, but
going while he's doing that,
anyway.
while he's doing that, Jonathan, when we played our game, actually, it was very much the same as what you were talking about. We had our asteroids kind of spread out across the map, and I started at one end, he started on the other, and it just so happened that fate decided Sabine was on the asteroid directly in front of the Ghost.
Right. Very convenient.
So in turn 2, or it must have been turn 3, I apologize, but we had the Phantom kind of jump out and land right on it. Phil was extremely skilled with maneuvering that thing, and that was like almost end game there. My Inquisitor went down really fast after that, and then the bombs did a couple points of damage, like 1 or 2 of my ties got hit and stressed. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that the random element, it's very fun because you don't know which direction to go, but should I go for that asteroid or should I go for this one? But you're right. If it ends up on one extreme or the other, I mean, then it's very, very it's favoring one side very, very much.
Right. So I'm looking at the rules now, and it says for detonation immediately after the operative token is removed. That's Sabine. Each ship at range 1 of at least 1 obstacle with an explosive token on it suffers 1 damage and gets 1 stress token. So,
yeah, we played it wrong.
Oh, see, I would have beat you. I would have beat you. If you hadn't done
even
that.
if it was rougher on the Imperials, still had some trouble there.
But another aspect of the lists because we played with the list they gave you, because we wanted to try how was it, how did they give this? But they used what came in the kit because they can't assume that you own anything else other than what's in the kits. And so, like, they give you, for the system, it's the reinforced deflectors.
Right.
Which is basically, if you take 3 or more damage, in a hit, you get a shield back. What are you fighting against? A bunch of TIE fighters.
Very unlikely that you get all 3 hits.
Yeah, really, only the Inquisitor or TIE fighters at range 1 can even get all 3 hits.
It's not even possible outside of range 1.
Right. So it's like, it worked. We did it like once in all of our games did that actually happen. And there's so many other systems that are so much more effective could you do. And then you look at the Inquisitor. So the Inquisitor, he's got homing missile, the V1 title, guidance chip, all really good. What is his EPT, Elite Pilot Talent? Deadeye. Which means he can use a focus to fire. But what is he firing? Okay, well, he's got the title V1, so when he gets a target lock, he also gets an evade action. So he's got a
target lock anyway. So it's
and he's got the highest pilot skill of anybody in the game.
Right.
So he's going last and has everybody in range to target lock that he needs to. And then homing missiles. So why would you ever not want to use your target lock for homing missiles? Because when you fire a homing missile, you don't spend the target lock. You keep the target lock, and you can use that target lock to re-roll your dice. But not with a focus. Why would you ever want to use Deadeye?
It's just a bad build.
It's just terrible.
It sounds like something I would have made, be perfectly honest with you. So it can't be good.
I didn't even pull it out when I put all the cards out. I just left it in the deck because I was like, there's no point. I don't even want anyone to get confused and try to use it. This is horrible.
Yeah.
But with a different build, it does become easier by far for the rebels to win. Especially if you start leaning towards the towards the tournament end of things and putting on cards that I know I've seen on tables that people are destroying me with. So
right. So
when I built my Ghost list, let's see, what did I have here? I had Hera as the pilot instead of Kanan. fire control system, ion cannon turret, Lando Calrissian crew, chopper crew because it's 0 points.
Lando was insane.
Lando was really good. And experimental interface, and the Ghost title, of course. So what I would do every turn is, plot like a green maneuver. Then I could do a little repositioning with Hera, switching between green maneuvers. And then I would take in, first action would be an evade, and then I would trigger experimental interface, which gives me another action from that's printed on a card, and I would take Lando's action.
Hello, what have we here?
Yeah, and the kind of the nice thing about this is that Lando actually thematically hung out on the Ghost for an episode.
Yeah, he's in an episode of Star Wars Rebels, so it actually
like a young Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, early in his scheming days.
But yeah, and then you roll the 2 green dice from Lando, and if you have decent luck, then you end up with like a focus and something, maybe an evade also. And you could have a pretty impressive stack of tokens on the Ghost at this point.
Yeah, and even the pilot they give you, Kanan, he's not the worst pilot, but what he does is, his ability is, if he's got a focus, he can spend a focus to make one guy's attack, one attack die less. But okay, here in this mission, who are you fighting against? A bunch of freaking TIE fighters. You can make one TIE fighter go down by 1.
And it's not even, the thing is, as it's built in that mission, it's just better to actually just take an evade rather than a focus most of the time.
Right.
Because your evade, when you spend an evade token, you're canceling not just one of the dice that your opponent is rolling, and that may end up being a blank. You're canceling out a hit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if I have the choice between stopping you from rolling one of your red dice and canceling one of your hits, it's always better to just cancel one of the hits, because the worst you can do with that red dice is a hit anyway.
Right, so I think it was any of the Ghost pilots besides Kanan was best. Or maybe if you just went the unnamed recon specialist who gives you 2 focuses when you do a focus action, that might have been okay. But we were trying to stick with the crews that came with it and all. And then they put Hera as the shuttle pilot, and that's just not really the best option. She's better as the Ghost pilot, or there's so many better shuttle pilots. And then because she's the most expensive one, you've got Predator, and that's it on the little shuttle. And when you've got a turret that you could do and all sorts of stuff, but
right. So when my attack shuttle pilot was Ezra with Push the Limit, and
oh my gosh,
and he's quite hard to kill because
I think in that match I had every tie shot at him. Right, and his ability was going off every single time. It was just amazing. Right. He survived without getting damaged once.
Ezra's ability is when he's stressed, which is going to be every turn because I'm going to have Push the Limit.
Yep.
He can turn 2 of his focus evade results into evade results.
So not only is he getting his normal, evade dice, he's rolling them, and he's automatically getting his permanent evade rolls. Yeah. He's permanently focused for those evade rolls, which is just so good.
Right. I picked up so many evades like that.
And you got TIE fighters shooting 2 dice, and the shuttle gets 2 defensive dice. Oh gosh.
Yeah, and I was at range 1 for a couple of those shots too. I think 2 of them were at range 1, and 2 of them were at range 2. He did not take damage. It was just real. Also, probably, in hindsight, it was probably really good rolling on your part.
It was above average rolling, but it wasn't that awesome.
It wasn't amazing rolling. It was good rolling, and it was very good defense.
Yeah, what it sounds like to me is that we all enjoyed the mission. At least that's what I'm getting, because I did enjoy it.
Yeah,
the stock mission, the stock mission out of the box with the stock ships and the stock loadouts isn't the best way to do it. I think that's my opinion. The mission's fun. It's definitely a neat change of pace, and especially with that weird point total to build to. Mm-hmm. But the actual ship straight out of the box that it gives you is not really the best way to do it to make it the most fair. Because I think that random chance of where Sabine's going to end up kind of
that can have a big impact on the game.
Yeah, it makes a huge impact, and to lessen that to some degree by making a more custom, a little bit stronger list does make it a lot more fun to play.
If you have an idea of what you're doing, I strongly suggest writing your own list for this mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good trainer though. If you just got the Ghost because it looks cool, or you like the show and you just want to run it through its paces, it's definitely a good opportunity to kind of learn more about these pilots and stuff like that.
But I think if you want to try it and you want to be thematic, try to stick to stuff that's like actually came in the package, or try to stick with stuff that don't just go to the recon specialists, but try Lando and try all the other crews, that come with it. Maybe better pilots and combo and all that.
Yeah, it sounded like they stayed pretty close to the thematic version of it, even with Lando based on the show. So it did. Yeah. They didn't veer off into left field, making their list. They stayed pretty close to it. Still made something that was a lot of fun and sounds very, very competitive, at least in that environment. So
but
it was fun for one of them.
I can even see, like, after trying it a couple times like this, even going with the Imperials and picking something completely, off segue, like going. Like, I could see playing the first few staying in theme, but then I don't think it's a bad mission to try off the rails either. Oh, throw in Soontir Fel if you want. Or the thing about Soontir is that he's so many points you only get 79 points, and what are you going to put in the rest of your list,
Yeah, and I think you need 5 ships.
I think it was 5 for the Imperial.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Heck, I would have even tried to lose the Inquisitor, because my Inquisitor ended up being a huge target, and the Ghost had an amazing volley in one of the first rounds. I think my Inquisitor got to shoot once. So if I would have traded him for 2 lesser, vanilla ships, I think, if I could.
Yeah, even having 6 ships would be good. I'm not sure if you could fit. No, you could fit. You could have 6 Academy pilots.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd see, I would give this mission a thumbs up, or a lightsaber up, or whatever we want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely worth playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. All right.
What was the other mission?
Now it's in Dengar's ship, so the Jumpmaster 5000, and that mission is called Payback. Now, just anybody who doesn't know, and one thing, I got more into the lore of Star Wars by playing X-Wing, because I look up who all these crazy pilot names are. Like, who are these people? And I'd look up, and I thought, oh, that's pretty darn cool. And Dengar is someone who I thought was cool. I listened to an audiobook of one of the Bounty Hunter Wars, and I didn't like it. He was a bit wimpy. But like everything else about Dengar, I thought was really cool, so I kind of like him.
He's like the anti-Han Solo.
Well, he was like a pod racer, or maybe it's something other than pods. Because a swoop racer. And
swoop.
Han Solo was in a match, young Han Solo, and Dengar was going to win until Han Solo cheats. And then Dengar gets in this huge, massive crash. He gets all banged up, and the Empire comes in and pays his medical bills, but they turn him into a assassin for them, and he's got to pay off their medical bills, and like they cut off a lot of his emotions, and so he hates Han Solo.
If he had medical insurance,
yeah.
It's the cautionary tale.
Yeah,
this was before Obamacare.
Yeah,
definitely.
There was no individual mandate. It's a long time ago, guys. Long time ago.
Far away. And so the whole plot of this is basically he is outgunned. So basically you get a Dengar of this pre-built list, or 56 points of your own choosing with just Dengar, and you're going up against at least 4 ships of 100 points of rebels.
Yeah.
But what happens is that he plans ahead, and he's got these hyperspace jump points. Really risky. So he's trying this really risky thing. He's trying to basically ensure he has 1 prisoner left. So his goal is to kill 3 and leave 1 guy alive, who then surrenders, so he can quiz to find out where is Han Solo, and then the rebels will pay him bounties on the dead other rebels. And so you spread out the asteroids, and then the scum player gets to put these 3 jump points on the board. And how it is at the end of a turn, you can choose to hit that pre-programmed jump point, and you zip there, and you start the next turn, and you have to be within range 1 of anywhere that jump point, facing any direction you want, and you lose all tokens on you. So if anybody's target locked you, it's away. If you're stressed, that's gone. You're halfway ioned, gone, all that stuff gone. So, but once you do that, that jump point goes away. So you can only do each one once, but you can do it 3 times.
Right, and this gives you a pretty significant advantage positionally.
Yeah.
Right. But it's important to remember that that repositioning happens before everybody plans their dials, right? So it happens at the very end of the round. You reposition, and then everybody knows where everybody is when you're actually planning your dials. So it's not like you can completely surprise somebody with this.
And there's another caveat that I talked to someone in the FFG forums, and basically you put out 3 jump points, and then your opponent picks one of those jump points, and that's where you start the game. You don't start back on your starting line. And so
right.
What he said, that he planted one in the backfield thinking, haha, later on I'll jump over and be behind my opponents. But his opponent said, okay, you're starting at that jump point. And it was right where he put all his ships.
Right, and he can set them up.
Crap. And he got reamed like in 1 or 2 rounds. He was like, well, all right, let's try this one again.
Yeah, that kind of thing can definitely happen.
So how did y'all's games go when y'all gave this one a test?
So I actually played this one with my brother who also plays, and we both made our own lists because I took one. Yeah, again, I took a look at this pre-built list and I couldn't have it. So let's see, what did I build? My jump master was Dengar with Rage, Zuckus Crew, Overclocked R4, Countermeasures, and Plasma Torpedoes. So Rage is that pilot talent that it's an action you can take. You get a focus token, and you can re-roll your attack dice, but you get 2 stress tokens for it.
You get to roll 3 attack dice for every attack that you make that turn, which normally is just 1. But with Dengar, his special ability is if you shoot at him and he's got you in his firing arc, after your attack, he can attack back.
Right, so you can potentially have 2 strongly modified attacks per turn, which is what I was hoping for.
If you had Gunner, you could do your normal attack, have someone shoot at you. If you happen to miss, you can shoot again and get 3 attacks. But
right, and then on top of the Rage modification, I also had Zuckus Crew. So Zuckus Crew is, I think, 1 point, and his ability is you can force your opponent to re-roll their defense dice, and you get 1 stress for that. So you can push through your damage more reliably if you have Zuckus Crew.
Right.
And then the Overclocked R4 also ties into this continuing stress theme. Overclocked R4, the ability there is when you spend a focus token, you can gain a stress and assign yourself another focus token. So you can regenerate your focus tokens continuously if you just pay the price in stress. So between Rage, giving me 2 stress every turn, Zuckus, who stresses me once every time I have my opponent re-roll 1 of their green dice, and Overclocked R4, give me a stress for every focus token I regenerate. I was generating around 7 to 10 stress per turn. Right? It's an insane amount of stress, and it would be completely non-viable if it was any other mission. But because it was this mission, you can just micro jump, and you shed all that stress all at once. So you could have a really powerful round of attacking with all these abilities triggering, and pretty good defense too, because Overclocked R4 also works on defense, right? You're spending the focus token defensively. And on top of that, I had Countermeasures. Countermeasures doesn't see a lot of play. It's a modification card. I think it's 3 points, and you can discard it and increase your agility by 1 value, so you're rolling an extra green dice. And I think you can also throw away one of your opponent's target locks that they have on you. So you can roll. I was rolling 3 green dice one of those early rounds, and I had permanent focus. So
yeah, well, the good thing about throwing away the target line, the opponent's target lock, is you actually throw it in the trash. They can't use it again.
They can never use it again.
Right. I know it's 3 points, but you can make them get rid of that target lock for all time.
Yeah. So I had this list that was very much built to be optimized for this mission.
What did your opponent take? Because I've been curious about, even what to take against this. But go on.
So my brother had a Y-Wing with a twin laser turret and the stress bot R3A2. And he had 2 B-Wings with 2 different cannons. I think he had a Mangler cannon and a heavy laser cannon. And then he had just a binary, I think a Bandit Squadron pilot, Z-95, with a tracer missiles. So, and both of the B-Wings had advanced sensors. That's also important.
Okay.
So he was also building his list knowing that I was going to have this repositioning advantage. So what he could do, if I jumped behind him, he could almost always, even if he was in the middle of the asteroid field, and this is generally, what I was trying to do the whole game was fly around the outside of the asteroid field, draw him through the asteroid field, and then jump behind him. So he'd be in the asteroid field, and he'd have a hard time turning around, K-turning, to get me in his arc, and I'd sort of, fly behind him and shoot him, right? But since his B-Wings had advanced sensors, they actually had a fairly easy time doing an advanced sensors barrel roll and then K-turning. Even if they were facing an asteroid, they could still manage a K-turn and get a shot on me.
All right. So both optimized lists. How they end up going?
Right. I got taken down pretty badly. I did take out 1 B-Wing, and I might have been able to take out the Z-95, but other than that, I was going down. The twin laser turret Y-Wing put a lot of damage on me. Not too much stress. He actually didn't have the BTLA-4 title, which I think worked to his advantage.
Right.
Because he just had a very consistent shot on me.
The BTL title that makes you fire.
Right,
you can fire your main guns and the turret, but it locks the turret forward.
Right, and that's what people typically take with the R3A2 astromech, because you can put 2 stress on a ship in 1 round of shooting. But of course, that was like nothing to me.
Right,
because I was putting like 8 stress on myself anyway. I don't care about 2 more stress. I didn't even notice it.
Did you just fly the 1 game?
Yeah, we ended up flying just 1 game. We only had time for 1.
Okay. Now I ended up playing 2. I played 1. I was waiting for Jonathan to show up, and I played somebody who showed up early, and then I played Jonathan. And I posted on the FHG forums for like some help trying to figure out a list. And one of the things I was worried about is if I do anyone that's too expensive, I'm going to be forced to go to the Z95 in the Rebel list. And that's just going to be, weak link.
Right, it's a little dangerous, because all Dengar needs to do in this mission is kill 3 ships, right?
Right. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to be using the stock list, or one of the popular Dengar builds has Predator. So I didn't want to go with anybody that was too low, or too many low PS ships. And so the list, and I kind of wanted to go all balanced. So I wanted something tanky and heavy, and I actually went with the low Blue Squadron B-Wing with fire control systems. So that's a nice tank, and it gets the extra target lock, and it can do some damage if it's in range. And but then I wanted to have something zippy, and I threw in a Green Squadron A-Wing with the title to give 2 talents, and I ended up picking like Push the Limit and Outmaneuver. So a little zippy little A-wing who can, if he gets you out of arc, he gets you reduced 1 green die. So I wanted that. Then I thought just some X-wings were good because they're fast, maneuverable, but they hit heavy. And I went with a red squadron pilot, which I spent a little point extra because I didn't want that rookie in case of Predator. And Garvin Trays, red leader, who when he spends his focus, he can pass that focus along. There's a little synergy there. And I gave some like R2 astromechs.
And you, when you were building this list, I think you were mainly worried about gaming it too much. So you're kind of worried about building something that was too strong, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to build anything that was going to be like I didn't want to pick 4 TLTs.
Right, that's the easy win button.
Right, it's just lame. So, I wanted to make it a game, so something that doesn't suck, but something that, if flown right, can really do a lot of damage. And so the first game, I had not flown Dengar at all. My Dengar, my first time using it, and I kind of got out there and I used Rage the first opportunity that I had, and I kind of plinked on the A-wing a little bit, but he kind of dodged a lot, and I just kind of rolled a lot of blanks, which is really aggravating, and re-rolled the blanks. And then I was stressed, and then I ended up getting bumped because like he came all in at like a united front really, and used his A-wing as a bumper, and he was a kind of newish player, but man, I just got really creamed.
Right.
Like,
the bad thing about Dengar is that Dengar kind of flies predictably, and I found this working against me too. Is that my brother had a pretty easy time anticipating where I was going to go, because you're always trying to keep people in arc.
Right, and I really didn't know how to do it. Actually, I didn't really always try to keep him in arc. I thought, there were times I did, but I was still trying to do the get around and shoot with the turret and use, because I didn't want to be in front of all those ships at the same time. So I was trying to kind of only want to face them when it was to my advantage. Except I just flew badly, and like I lost, all my shields and some of my hull in the first couple turns, and after that it was me trying to fly around, and I think I managed to kill one ship, and then he took me down, and that was it. And then I ended up playing Jonathan, and I'd learned I was like, I had Gonk, because the one that they give you has Rage, Plasma Torpedoes, Gonk, where you can do the slow shield regen, and then R5P8, also known as Painbot online, because he's the one, you shoot at Dengar, and he shoots back at you. You roll an attack die, and if you roll like a hit, you take a hit.
He's got like a blaster rifle strapped to his
right.
his helmet, his dome.
Yeah. Feedback array and guidance chip and the Punishing One title. So nothing crazy. I thought maybe when I flew against Jonathan, I was like, I'm going to be flying the away because I want to get a couple turns where I can go gonk, gonk, gonk and rack up some shields because I'm going to need those.
Yeah.
But then Jonathan came and kind of tried to do a pincer move at me, and I was like, oh, screw this. I'm going to go after one of the pincers. And so, I turned in and ended up shooting my plasma torpedo right away because I didn't even get to fire it last time at Garvin. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the torpedo. Right. Boom, and I shot it, and I hit, did some damage to Garvin, and then Garvin shot back at me, and then I pain-botted Garvin, and then I shot back with Dengar, and I was able to take out Garvin, in that first round.
Nice.
And Jonathan, I don't know if you want to give any thoughts you had, into the layup, or what you thought of the Rebel list you had in your hands, or...
Well, it was. I'm gonna keep it short because we're kind of starting to run long. But I don't play those ships very much, so that's gonna be my first offense. But the second one is I have no idea what the new crazy looking ship can do. So I kind of went in it blind, really completely blind, and he essentially tells you the whole story of that match. He basically in one turn killed one ship, and then the next turn he one-shotted the A-wing, and that was pretty much over at that point. So I basically blanked on the green dice, and he one-shotted the A-wing, and that was pretty much it. At that point, I really had no shot. He never even touched the B-wing. He didn't even shoot at it, so... the big tanky ship, he just kind of left doing its own thing.
I tried, because I learned in the first game, I was like, oh, this is really bad. So I ended up doing my S-loop, but the A-wing ended up K-turning behind me, and I was like, oh, crap. But I'm like, hey, I got a turret. I'm like, I'm rage.
Yeah.
And, I was at range 1, so 4 dice, and I just got lucky and nailed him. And then he had K-turns who didn't have a focus, and he ended up rolling like all blanks, and it was just 4 hits. Boom, 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 A-Wing dead. It was a pure luck. But I was like, I'll take it. And I ended up using like barrel roll to get away further a lot more often, and I used the jump points a lot sooner than I would have in the first mission. It's like, I could just die if I don't do this right. So I played a lot more cautiously and conservative with Dengar, and and ended up winning that one. But so I think, I don't know, I think it takes a bit of play. I think that one is a good one to try, and I think it's one even with the same opponents, swapping sides or rebuilding lists, and seeing like what is your list and what do you take to finish them off, and as long as you don't take a bunch of TLTs, I think it can be
right. That's that's the main thing with this mission, is that it's just too easy to imagine a list that is an auto win for the rebels, right? Because if you bring forward TLTs, there's essentially nothing that Dengar can really do to win, right? I mean, you can try to use the micro jumps to get close, but then you can just scatter with the Y-wings. You're not going to be able to stay in range 1 of like all of them,
I will say that I've been looking online a little bit at Dengar builds, because I wasn't sure if I was going to build my own, but we didn't have time to do any more than 2. The push the limit with engine upgrade does your standard like Fat Han or Fat turrets.
Right.
Where you basically like, ha ha ha, I arc dodge out of your firing arc and I blast you with my turret, ha ha ha, come chase me, I'll just keep doing it all game, how much fun, ha ha ha. It's like, game at times, and that's where like that, like some of those games just get old when you're the guy trying to beat.
I think they're calling that like Super Dengar or maybe Fat Dengar.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do that, and Predator was another one, because I did feel he needed some sort of ability to modify his dice, and Rage wasn't, like, while it worked on that A-Wing, it in other games, like, it just wasn't cutting it, and if I got bumped, I didn't have anything. But I thought of a build that would be really interesting to do. Give him, because part of what the fear of Dengar is that he's predictable, because his lefts are green. But what about doing stay on target? Because it means he can change. Like if he goes at 2 speed, he can do a 2 straight, he can do a 2 bank, he can do a 2 hard turn either direction. He can do a 2 white S loop, or he's got the 2 right, red S loop. And if you change it, it's considered a red maneuver. Right. So you're stressed. But if you're going to get bumped, or if someone's like outthought you, well, screw it. I'll take the stress to get out of all those arcs and go the other direction.
Boom.
Interesting.
Especially because you need to play so defensively in this mission. You need to really be careful because you're at such a heavy points disadvantage. You're essentially at 2-to-1 point disadvantage.
Right, and then for ship or for upgrade cards, for crew there's Outlaw Tech, which is basically like a little Jawa, right. And if you do a red maneuver, you get 1 focus token. Yeah, you get a free focus, and so hey, you just got to do a red maneuver to escape, but boom, you got a free focus, right. And then have K4 security droid as the other ones are basically if you spend a focus. You could only have one of those though, because I think there's only 1 crew slot on the Jump Master. Isn't there? R4 Agromech, that was it. Yeah. R4 Agromech, where if you spend a focus token during an attack, you get a target lock. So then, if you're doing a red maneuver, you're going to have the focus and you're going to have the target lock. Yeah, it's not bad. So I thought like that would be an interesting way to kind of make Dengar unpredictable, and effective. And I thought like, hey, that's actually using stay on target, which everyone says is a bad card. So I thought that would actually be a fun build to do. Right. But yeah, so I do know we are getting kind of late. Yeah, we should probably close it out. But what's everyone's verdict on this mission? So,
I thought it was interesting. I'll be honest, you guys are starting to put me to sleep there with all your card talk. So that's why I got quiet for a while. But I think it's neat. I only got one chance to play it. I definitely want to try it again. But it's like the other one. I have a feeling that the book list or the list that comes out of the set's probably a little under optimized, and it could be taken a lot further. But as it stood, it was fun. It was just frustrating not to have the dice go my way.
Yeah. I think that's one that if you play it multiple times and tweak it a little bit with the same opponent, it will be more rewarding. Like if you just try it one off and then someone happens to like get a list that just smashes you or you do something wrong, like, oh, that was dumb mission, and you shelf it. But if you actually like, hey, rack and stack again, or oh, let me tweak this a little bit more, or and then you beat them, and the other person says, oh, well, I want to counter tweak it. And like this, I could see this being a mission that you actually would replay, and get more enjoyment out of it the more you kind of fiddle with it.
So this is a mission that has a really cool concept, but again, there's some critical flaws, namely that if the rebel player really wants to win, there's essentially nothing stopping him from just taking 4 Y-Wings with TLT, right? So
common decency.
Common decency is the only thing standing between you and an auto win, or loss, depending on who you are. But that aside, the concept is really cool. I like it, but I do think it could use a little bit of a tweak. I think that I think it might have been a better mission if instead of you doing your micro jump before dials are programmed, if once all the dials were down, you could do your micro jump. So that way it would be a lot more of a, it would be a surprise to the rebels, or, more of a surprise. So the rebel player would constantly be trying to guess whether the scum player, the player flying the punishing one, was going to do a micro jump that turn or not. So they'd have to hedge their bets a lot more, right?
Yeah.
As written, they know by the time they're programming their dials whether that micro jump has happened. So it could be a lot. It would be It would be more of an advantage that way for the punishing one player.
Well, it might be too much, because if they go something like Gonk,
much, but yeah.
Gonk will regen the shields, it might give you just too many rounds where you're regenning your shield.
Yeah, I mean, it could be too much advantage, but it would be something I would want to try. I think that the mission could use a bit of a tweak.
Okay.
At the end of the day.
All right. Cool. All right.